All right, everyone, welcome back to the Films Podcast, where I get the opportunity to speak with some of the most influential people in the film industry and how that the wisdom that they've learned can be applied to your life. So, without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest. His name is TREY DAUGHTRey, and I want to kind of let him give his experience on what has brought him to this point. So, Trey, here's the mic.
Hey, Blake, first of all, thanks for having me, man. This is really exciting, and I can't wait to have a good conversation with you. So, my name is TREY DAUGHTRey. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director, producer, editor, all the things. I even, do PA and whatever it takes to get the film project done. So a little bit about how I got started. I first started as I guess you could say, a hip hop artist. I served in the military for a long time in different places and duty stations and things that I would go. I would try to, find a place to perform. And one time down in Savannah, Georgia, there was a casting call for a country music video. I had a lot of interest in country. I still love country a whole lot. And I just wanted to be on the set. Well, while I was on the set, it was a timepiece video. Got to meet some really cool people and got really interested in the behind the scenes and everything that was going on there. And that kind of sparked the interest along with hip hop and doing music. I found myself helping people with music videos and even doing some weddings. So that's how I got started. And did a whole lot of self-study, a lot of reading, a lot of books, was able to get on the senior projects of certain people down in SCAD and in theater and for some film stuff. And one thing just kind of led to another. Meanwhile, my military career was still going on. A few years later, I was able to be a part of a project called We Were There, or I Was There, excuse me. It was put on by General Patton's grandson, and they travel around to different bases, basically teaching soldiers who had experienced traumatic events and soldiers that had needed a way to outlet their feelings about how to tell their stories through film. It was sort of a workshop that I was part of and learned quite a bit from that. And once again, I was bitten, and later in the military became a aviation maintenance instructor. Led the schoolhouse over at Fort Eustis, and through that, I learned the practicality of learning something and then immediately going to the field and exercising it. So would read books about film, immediately go and exercise what I was learning. Just did that repeatedly over and over again. Got with a team of people that was doing the same thing. It was mentorship in that group as well. Around 2017, I wrote my first short and then was able to shoot it down in Georgia with some of those same friends that I had met at church and through SCAD. It just kind of all worked together. And then through the various churches that I went to, I found myself, I was blessed to be on several media teams. And that's where I really got a lot of camera training, a lot of live broadcast directing training, and then went on and made my first short. It got accepted to several festivals. And that's the long and short of it. Got to Charlotte. There is a guy named Tommy Nichols here. He was putting together a meetup of other filmmakers. Met several filmmakers there here in Charlotte. We all kind of got together and made up a team, Genesis Creative Entertainment Group, and the rest, as they say, is history. And we've put several projects out at this point.
Wow, Trey. I mean, the amount of experience that it takes, a lot of people, they'll think that they need to go to school to become a filmmaker. And I mean, I'm saying that even though I went to school or I'm going to school, but, that was just kind of like at that point, that was just kind of like the only way I thought, you could become a filmmaker is if you go to a school. It's like, I thought, oh, it's like becoming a doctor or, that you need some kind of credentials, but really
Right.
you don't. And
Right.
so, there's there's two avenues to go, but
Right.
ultimately it leads to the same result.
Right. Yeah. I would say and I'm not knocking any filmmakers that went to school. I actually very much encourage it because there's not going is the long way around. However, so I was accepted to Full Sail a few different times in my life, but the way my life was structured, it just didn't allow me to go to down to Florida, even though I went down a few times and walked the campus. But I highly I've met a lot of sensational filmmakers who didn't go to school, and I've met a lot of sensational ones that did go to school. So I think ultimately it's about your drive and your intentionality. Intentionality, I think that's the word, to pursue your dream and your goal. There's a million different roads to get there, but as long as you keep driving, you'll get there.
Wow. Yeah, that's something that I've experienced recently is there's so many connections to make, whether if it's like, in Charlotte somewhere or in your city somewhere,
Mhm.
or if you're going to school, there's
Right.
connections to be found anywhere. It's just really, do you have the grit in order to go out and seek those connections, whether if it's
Right.
going to a play, going to a filmmaker's, what exactly do you call filmmakers, like
So
movie, is it called like a watch party?
they can be watch parties and networking events. Just pretty much wherever filmmakers are gathering, whether you've been to film school or not. I advise you get there and go often. They're really really good events to have, and a lot of filmmakers put them on. Me and some other filmmakers are actually doing one on June 25th at it's a video rental space here called built business here called Visart at 7 o'clock. June 25th, we're putting together a film networking event. We're going to show some short films. I'll have some local community leaders come out. I'm going to have some artists come out, poets and otherwise. So yeah, just you got to get to those networking events.
Yeah, and I'm definitely gonna have to make it out there. So June 25th, 7 p.m. What day is that? Is that a Friday, Saturday,
Actually, that's a Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
it's a Wednesday evening over at Visart.
Okay, these are, and for anyone listening, if you are in the Charlotte area or in the surrounding area, yes, just look up Visart in the Charlotte area, 7 p.m., and just look for Trey, look for me, look for any of the filmmakers. So yeah, that's gonna be a great time. So I kind of want to, I really want to pivot into a question that I've really been trying to figure out, by doing research and different stuff like that. So, as a filmmaker, you kind of want to you want to stay with the trends, and you want to stay up to date with what other filmmakers are doing, not to
Right.
say to copy them,
Yeah.
but to let their work inspire you to do something that is totally different, but like of the same concept. So, have you noticed any kind of genres that have like stuck out that people are making more of than others?
So at the independent level, which is where I'm at mostly. So a big thing that people always do is horror films for a lot of different reasons. Not that horror films are they're not easy to do by any stretch of the imagination. But horror has a large fan base, and that fan base has shown a willingness to support indie film in a large way, going all the way back even before the movie. I can't think of it now. It just escaped me. The
Yeah.
Blair Witch Project
Yeah, yeah.
was what you might call a lower budget horror film that did major numbers in its time. And you come up to nowadays, you still have independent films doing major numbers in the box office. And I think because it's such a large fan base and a loyal fan base and a fan base that's willing to support indie films, you see a lot of horror films done at the indie level. Yeah.
So, what do you think? Like? What makes someone want to go see a horror film, and like why are they so loyal to the genre? Like, what makes people want to go see a horror film?
So honestly, that's a really good question, and I'm probably not the best person to answer it. But I will say that horror films, well, I'll explain it like this. So the best types of films ignite something primal in us.
Mm,
Like you can always go to any film, and the reason that you love it, I'm willing to bet any amount of money, is really some sort of primal reason. And there's nothing more primal than the urge to survive. And once you, in any story that you tell, whether it's film, any medium that you tell it in, if you ignite with the primal in all of us, you'll hook your audience, whether it's a love story or a horror story. I think that's the pull. And not only that, I think that it's something that it gets passed on from generation to generation, right? Generally, if you have parents that like horror films, you'll have their kids that end up liking horror films as well. But the opposite is true as well. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I guess so. This question's for me. So, I mean, I love a good horror film, but as someone that as a believer, it's
Mhm.
just like and I believe it's true that, there's something within us that, when there's like this sense of like survival,
Yep.
that it just kind of like it draws us in.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I guess as a believer for myself, do you think it's
Mhm.
possible to make like a horror film, or like a survivalist, like drawing in type film, without like, keeping my morals and values intact?
Yeah, honestly think it's I don't only think, I know for a fact that it's highly possible. There's a writer in our group, Crystal, who writes those sorts of stories. She has one that she's writing now that's just absolutely sensational. I can't wait for. I think she's going the book route with it first. But I think inherently, I think one of the things that have kind of been lost, and I don't know this for a fact. It is something that I've studied over time, but I can't necessarily remember the particular ins and outs of it. But so when you think of vampires, for example, vampires, the early vampire stories have a lot of overlap with Christianity, and it's almost like someone in Christianity came up with the vampire story to drive people back to church.
Oh, wow.
I cannot remember the history that well to say that for a fact, but if you really look at vampire lore, it would almost seem that way. One of the earliest movies, and it's escaping me. It's one of the earliest movies made was a vampire movie, and it was a silent film. And
I
it's
think I know the one you're talking about.
I but anyway,
Yeah.
the the cross is a significant prop in vampire films. Holy water, there's one can debate the thing about silver. You can also talk about the house, a lot of churches being very prominent in a lot of horror films. So I think we have to remember, as storytellers, the ultimate I don't want to say yin and yang, but the ultimate good guy bad guy is God versus the devil.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think you can get more primal than that. So if it were me, and like I've seen it done, you can tell a story about those things, and I believe that you can keep your faith intact and do it. You just gotta, you can't sensationalize the bad stuff too much and get to the point in the moral curve of the story.
Yeah, that's so true. I can't remember the exact name of the movie, but it was a movie that I saw. I think it was probably in like the early spring-ish, like this past spring. And it was basically a movie. What was the name of the movie? The Watchers. It was a horror movie that basically described, or like the whole plot of the movie was this woman. She had a traumatic past.
Hmm.
She tried, I don't know why, but like she like had a pet bird. She went to go let the pet bird out in the woods, and her car broke down.
Uh,
And as her car broke down, she started like gravitating towards the whispers of the forest.
mm,
And so she found herself in the middle of the woods, and there was this woman that was kind of like off in the distance in the mist. So it led to her going to this this little this room with with a window, like a two-way window, like where you when you're inside you only see a mirror, but whoever's on the outside, they can see what's inside.
right, right.
So basically the whole plot of the movie was like a reflection of herself, and how these watchers basically, like, they were so interested in human behavior
Hmm.
that every night these watchers, these would go and watch the people inside.
Oh
And
wow.
so you wouldn't want to catch yourself outside of the room, because then they would kill you. So, and by the end of the movie, my correlation, because this is like oddly comparable to the way that angels and demons, like the
Hmm.
correlation,
Right.
that these watchers, they were like the fallen. I think it references to fallen angels.
Mm, okay.
And so these fallen angels, they would watch humans, and they would actually take the form of humans. And
Wow.
so, but the whole movie, you see this like level of faith that's very subtle, but faith in humankind, faith
Right.
in trusting a fellow human, and then faith in knowing the difference between a human and a watcher. So,
Right.
that was one of those films where it just kind of showed me that it is possible to reveal God through a horror film, or to invoke that survivalist to like let you know like, hey, you're only human, and this can give you like this movie can be a reflection of what it means to be human.
Right.
So that's really cool. So as a filmmaker, what are some of the best attributes, or like the best characteristics in order to become a great filmmaker? Like, is it grit? Is it fortitude? Is it consistency? What would you say would be those characteristics?
For me, I personally believe it's the ability to collaborate,
Mm.
the ability to work with a team, right? Because filmmaking is one of those things that if you're gonna do it right, you just can't do it alone, and you got to want to be a part of a team. That's one of my favorite things about it is the camaraderie. It's the single mindedness. Um, and it's one of the things that drew me to filmmaking, sort of like I was drawn to the military. Oddly enough, there's very few times in life or places in life where you can be with a large group of people and you all be focused on one goal. And that's what filmmaking provides me. And it provides that all the way through, whether it's pre-production, production, and in the post-production. It's a group of people singly focused on one thing. In that way, it's very similar to the military, especially when we were deployed into combat zones. Nobody's thinking about anything else but getting the job done. So I would say the answer, one trait you absolutely have to have is the ability to collaborate and the love of collaboration.
Well, yeah, and that's actually that's a testament to your knowledge, and because one of the things that I'm learning right now in school is that, there's this element of like, if you want to succeed as a filmmaker, or if you want to have a successful film, you absolutely need team cohesion. Like, you can't like, any good team is focused on one thing, and that is to make an amazing film.
Right.
And so, one of the things that I've learned through team cohesion is that the first step to team cohesion is the ability to, like, for everyone to know the team goals,
Hmm. Yep.
and to understand exactly, like, okay, this is our team goals. And then to go even deeper of like, okay, now what is DP, like, what is your responsibility? A grip, what is your responsibility? And so I really enjoy like this community so much, because as someone that wanted to go into the military, my
Hmm.
whole family's military, like,
Right.
back until like World War II.
Right.
And so there's this like element of like, dang, I wish I would have, but
Hmm.
I just knew that that wasn't my calling.
Right.
And this has given me that same sense of like, of structure, that everybody knows what they're doing,
Right.
in their role, and we just all come together for one goal, to make an
Yeah.
amazing film.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And when everybody's on the same page, it's a beautiful thing. Even humans are humans. Sometimes you're not on the same page, but even if you're not on the same page, you know that you're working towards the same goal, and that's just a beautiful thing in the experience. And eventually, everybody working hard in the same direction, you're going to get on the same page. And I've seen it happen over and over again. And it's just you build good, strong relationships. And yeah, I can't say enough positive things about that process, regardless of where you are and what job you're doing. To be on set and to be part of a team working towards a singular goal is just a beautiful thing.
Man, I literally feel like I'm living in my purpose.
Hmm.
As someone that has struggled to find purpose for so long, and it's like, oh, what do I want to do for my career? I just, because I had to do a lot of reflecting before I actually joined school, because I wanted to make sure that this was the time, or that this was the right move.
Right.
And, I prayed about it,
Hmm.
and I got confirmation from the Lord. He was like, have you ever like prayed for something and you're like, God, if this is from you, keep the door open, but if it's not, close the door? And
Yes.
like, if it,
Yes.
usually it's been like relationships. I've said that, and
Right.
it's just, he closes the door. I'm like, dang it, God.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Right.
and so I'm like, dang, okay, well, if this door has stayed open and,
Right.
it's been, I wouldn't say necessarily effortless, but it's definitely felt smooth in the
Yeah.
transition from, just being a construction worker, going to
Hmm.
the gym and, just living an average life to actually wanting to pursue filmmaking and to
Right.
become a filmmaker.
Right.
So I guess like for someone that is like on the edge of like wanting to become a filmmaker or just even
Right.
in general wanting to be in the film industry,
Right.
what kind of advice would you say to help spark their faith to take that leap?
Well, I would say, just like you kind of illustrated there, pray about it. Pray about it and listen. Um, and God will, He never fails to reveal what He wants for you, and the purpose for you, right? And I used to tell my soldiers, and I believe this very much for filmmakers, you were born different. If you're a filmmaker, you've always known something was different about you.
Wow.
You've always had uh, this nagging purpose, right? And it's going to take time, sometime, to figure it out. But you'll know what it is because how it makes you feel when you're doing it. When you're thinking about it, it's this intense love, this intense peace, and if and even when it's supposed to be hard, if you still love it, then you know that you're getting close to what could possibly be your purpose. What I would say is, first, pursue it at all costs, because I believe that God has a story that He wants told, and whether you step up and tell it or not, He's going to find someone to tell that story. I think that's just how the universe works. And I would say not to get locked in on a particular job. Say, I want to be a filmmaker and pursue that goal. Because just like with anything, as you get into it, you're going to figure out there's all these other jobs and positions that you didn't know that you might be good at and that you might want to fill. But whatever it is you want to do, I would say just go for it. And once you have that nagging urge that you got to do this, and I mean not past just, and we're talking a little bit more than just want. I'm talking about extreme love, almost to an addiction level thing, and I mean that in a healthy way,
Yeah.
that this is something that you just got to do, pulling at you. Essentially, it's a calling, and you feel it as a calling on your life. And when you feel that, then there's very few things that can stop you other than you. And if you
Wow.
keep the universe that God rules is interesting, and He made it this way. And I could talk about this all day, but if you start moving in the direction that you want to go and that you're supposed to go, people will be sent along to help you along that path. The entire universe will will be called to your wanting and to your whatever, and you'll just notice that doors and avenues will start to open and people will start to appear that will help you along this journey. I'm a big reader. There's a book called The Alchemist that I read probably once a year, and it's about purpose and finding your goal and all that stuff. Um, and that's what I would say. Like, and I hate to be a real nuts and bolts type of guy. Like, how do you actually do the thing? And filmmaking is one of those things where you have to just start. Literally get some books, apply to a school, and just start. Read, learn, YouTube University, and just start applying it. And then go where filmmakers are. Figure out where filmmakers are and go there.
Wow, dude, that literally like as you're describing that and as you're, saying the things of like, this could be your purpose. Like I don't even know what to call it, but there's just this energy within inside me that's like, yes, that's what I've been longing for my whole life. Oh man, I'm because, as so what I've really been doing recently is I've been doing TikTok like short films.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like I take the opportunity to make like they're probably no longer than like 30 seconds to a minute, but
Right.
really they're films that are showing the footage and then there's usually like an inspirational quote with some
Right.
music behind or someone
Right.
speaking. And it seems to be going well for me
Yep.
because it's super simple, and it's just getting the reps in. And I'm like, I enjoy that so much. Like I just created a short film. I think it was like a minute long, and
Hmm.
it was called Moments of Happiness.
Right.
And, in this short film, it's really just kind of me living out the purest expression of what makes me happy,
Right.
and that's film. And
Yeah.
so, it's just getting the reps in, going to meet people, read some books, apply to a school, and just
Right.
do these steps. And
Right.
don't, I what I like to say is, if you don't know what step to take, it's usually the first one.
Right.
And, I've just had to learn this over time, that I don't need to know the next 20 steps. I just need to take the first step,
Yep.
accomplish that first step, and then do step 2.
Yeah. No, and that's literally the way it works, and that's the way life works. You just gotta go, man. Like you just gotta. I was doing a video the other day, and I got pretty emotional, and I'll try to tell you guys. Without getting emotional about it again, because I totally believe this, and when I was talking about it, that sense of things being primal, if you will. So I think about the story Mission Impossible, the one that Tom Cruise stars in, with all the episodes, and the most recent one. I went to go see it, and I really really enjoyed it, and something revealed itself to me that I hadn't really thought about before. One of the primal thing about that film is just belief in your team. And because Ethan, the star character, sometimes like they plan and they plan and they plan for this, this spy event, this heist, whatever they're doing, trying to get a microchip, trying to get a formula, whatever they're doing, they plan for it. And you see them plan and you see them work it out, and this is going to go to this. But, the first couple of plans may go off, but, the big event never goes as planned. Sometimes it's because they underestimate the villain, or something doesn't work right with equipment, whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily work. And, there'll be a shot of Ethan. He was like, I'll figure it out. And his team was like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And it's that unbelievable belief in each other that it's going to happen. Like, we are going to get this done, and it's going to happen. And you see Ethan running at full speed, with his team trying to figure out how they're going to make the thing happen. And he doesn't know what's coming next, but he has faith in what's coming next. Like, unbelievable faith in the team and the group that he's working with, and just that belief that things are going to work out. Like, I mean, obviously the movie is called Mission Impossible. And I think so many times in life, we feel that. We feel like the mission is impossible. And I think that's why, on a very primal level, people love those movies, and they love anything like that, because they see it, and you get to see it work out. And I mean, yours, whatever your mission is for the day, or for the week, or for the month, it may feel impossible. But if you have faith in your team, faith in God, faith in what you're doing, you just gotta believe that it's going to work. Now, with films, I always say, being, part of the film industry, air quotes, if this is your, there's passion and there's purpose, right? But money doesn't always come along with those things. And it doesn't always come fast. It will eventually come, but it don't always come fast. And I tell everybody, well, there's been times where I could do, this and only this, but for the most part, I have a day job now that I do. And then as soon as that's over, then I'm plugging into this, and I'm doing this, for the next 9-10 hours of my day. And the way the film industry is right now, there's a lot of professionals that have been doing only this, that have had to supplement their income and do other things. But when something is your purpose, you're doing it whether the money matches or not, because you're going with the faith that it will eventually, or it will when I need it to. So yeah, it's all about faith. It's all about purpose. It's all about stepping before you know what the next step is.
Wow, bro. I really enjoyed this episode. I think, there was a lot that I learned. I know that the viewers are going to learn so much from you, man. Like, I just know that this is going to be one of those episodes that really sparks someone's faith to do something great.
Indeed, indeed. I hope so.
Trey, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, I know we're getting towards the end of here, but I just wanted to promote a couple of projects.
Yeah, for sure.
Behind me, you see the big poster there, Roommates. It's Roommates, a chaos comedy. You can find it on YouTube. Once again, Roommates, a chaos comedy. It is a comedy about two people who are forced to live together as roommates because a young lady finds out that her roommate's moving out, and there's an very traditional African man from Nigeria, very traditional Nigerian man who needs a place. And through circumstance, they're forced together, and comedy just ensues from that point on. And then I was a director and a co-writer on Roommates, and we're releasing a new episode every Thursday, and it's pretty funny, pretty hilarious stuff. And the other project back there, A Season for Love, you can find this one. I was one of the producers on this and an assistant director. You can find this one on Amazon, on Apple TV, pretty much anywhere. That one's streaming. That is a modern day take on it's a love and dramedy in the same vein as Love Jones. He's a film director, she's a doctor. They meet and they find love, and some very critical life things happen, and they make some choices, and life is pulling them apart. But ultimately, they find love. There's decisions made that some people will not agree with. I don't always agree with what the characters do, but others, that is, their life and their reality. And I would just say check it out because it is a very endearing love story that is out there right now.
Sweet, man. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in the show notes. So A Season for Love, you can find that on Apple TV and Amazon as well. And then Roommates, you can find that on, is it just YouTube, right? Or
so it's on YouTube and it's on Vimeo OTT.
Oh, yep.
Roommates, you can see it on YouTube, you can see it episode at a time. And on Vimeo OTT, you can see it as a bundle.
Okay, perfect. All right, everyone. Well, man, it was a pleasure having Trey on the podcast. Such a wonderful man, and just excited to see where he's going to go. He's doing a lot of things here in Charlotte, and I know that this is going to be something that he's going to be transitioning into full time. So where he can just completely focus on his craft. So without further ado, y'all, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. I'm just excited for what's going to come out of this. So yeah, with that, until next time. Bye.
All right.
Man,
Thanks
Trey,
for having me.
bro.